Welcome to Auto Mundial, the weekly car news and review show where this week we have a pair of mid-engine track-focused Porsches, the GT4 and Boxster Spyder.
We've also got Jeep's new Land Rover Discovery rival, the new Grand Cherokee L, as well as the latest supersaloon muscle car from Dodge.
Plus Volvo versus Land Rover, who makes the best compact premium 4x4. That's all coming up. First though, the news.
Lamborghini is set to electrify its entire lineup by 2024, with a new full EV due before 2030. The Italian brand's chairman, Stephan Winkelmann, says the supercar manufacturer's new direction will be necessary to radically change the world. We're not quite sure if electric Lamborghinis will be world-changing or not. The brand sells a few thousand cars a year, but the big V10s and V12s will live on a little longer with some new hybrid assistance. We've already seen the mild hybrid Sian, and Lamborghini has confirmed that an all-new V12-powered car is on its way, presumably the replacement for the aging Aventador. The company is aiming to cut its CO2 emissions in half by 2025, with €1.5 billion of investment allocated to the environmental effort.
Jeep's Grand Cherokee has always offered a very American take on a luxury SUV. With big engines, a roomy cabin and models to suit a variety of budgets, the fourth-gen car has been on sale for an impressive 10 years now, with yearly updates and an underlying feeling of capability, keeping it competitive against a flurry of new rivals. Now, though, it is finally being replaced, and this is the new one. Unveiled as the long-wheelbase Grand Cherokee L, this new 7-seat version is our first taste of the new Grand Cherokee lineup, and we are delighted to report that this is the best-looking version since the 1992 original. It is squarer, chunkier and bold without looking too in your face. It has the signature Jeep grille with just the right amount of chrome trim. The bonnet is longer and the roof is lower, with slim LED headlights completing the premium new look. Under the skin is all new too, with a heavily revised chassis tuned for improved refinement. The body is much stiffer and there's some multi-link rear suspension, which Jeep reckons has improved both ride comfort and handling. From launch, there are two engines to choose from, the familiar 3.6-litre V6 from the old car and a 5.7-litre Hemi V8. The smaller engine kicks out 286 brake horsepower through an 8-speed automatic transmission, while the V8 produces 352 bhp. And if you're concerned that the big Hemi might be a little thirsty, you can take some comfort in the new cylinder deactivation system, which shuts down 4 cylinders when cruising to improve fuel economy by around 20%. Both versions also feature a new system that disconnects the front axles under light load to further boost your MPG. A plug-in hybrid is also on the way later this year. This being a Jeep though, style, comfort and economy must surely take a back seat behind off-road ability. As a result, Grand Cherokee buyers now have a choice of 3 different 4-wheel drive systems, one with a single-speed transfer case, one with a 2-speed case and one with a 2-speed case and a limited slip rear differential. Naturally, there's a selection of off-road driving modes ranging from rock crawl to hill descent, and it can be spec'd with chunky tyres and heavy-duty skid plates if you're serious about hitting the trails.
However, Jeep isn't the only 4x4 stalwart with a posh 7-seater. Enter the Land Rover Discovery, the ultimate blend of practicality and off-road prowess. Sure, it would be hard to argue that it's as good looking as the Jeep, but it still has plenty going for it. Fresh from a recent facelift, the Discovery 5 is still one of our favourite posh SUVs. Under the bonnet, the Discovery gets a new host of engines with an array of JLR's latest 4 and 6 cylinders. The petrol range kicks off with the 2-litre P300 producing 296 brake horsepower, while a bigger 3-litre motor rounds off the petrol options with 355 bhp thanks to an electric supercharger and mild hybrid system. There are some diesels to choose from too, with massive towing capacities and plenty of low-down grunt. And this being a Land Rover, it has all the off-roading technology you could imagine, as well as impressive approach and departure angles and adjustable air suspension like you get in the Jeep. The Land Rover is expensive though, and it doesn't have a big capacity engine to compete with the Jeep's V8.
Both of these cars offer way more ability than their buyers are ever likely to use or indeed need. But it's nice to know that they could handle themselves off-road, even if you never plan on taking them off the tarmac.
For years now, Porsche's mid-engined Caymans and Boxsters have been the sports cars to beat. They're balanced, quick and beautifully made. Recently, however, the competition has stepped up its game, with sensational new releases like the BMW M2 Competition and Alpine A110, and thanks to the standard 718 shift from 6 cylinders down to 4, the obvious choice was starting to become an underdog. And in the world of Porsche, that simply wouldn't do. Welcome then to the solution, the Cayman GT4. Like the previous GT4, this new model is a lighter, track-focused variant of the regular 718 Cayman, and according to Porsche, is a brutal driving machine that's perfectly irrational. Sounds like our kind of car. Available with a manual gearbox or a PDK Auto, the GT4 produces 414 brake horsepower and gets from 0 to 62 miles per hour in 4.4 seconds on its way up to a top speed of 188 miles per hour. But this car is about so much more than just straight line speed. Gone is the standard car's much maligned turbocharged 4-cylinder, and in its place sits a proper naturally aspirated 4-litre flat 6, just like a Porsche of old. It's a bored out and heavily modified version of the turbocharged engine you'd find in a 911, and it revs out to an ear-splitting 8,000 RPM. The car is a product of Porsche's GT department, so it comes as no surprise that it's pretty handy around a track. It gets some GT3-inspired chassis upgrades and a set of super sticky Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2s. As a result, the Cayman set an astonishing Nürburgring lap time of just 7 minutes and 28 seconds. 10 years ago, that was full-on supercar territory. Climb inside the Alcantara-clad cabin and it feels every bit as special as you'd imagine. The steering wheel is beautiful and completely devoid of buttons and other distractions. The body-hugging sport seats are wonderfully supportive, while an optional roll cage and fire extinguisher add to the motorsport flavour. The short, stubby gear lever is perfectly positioned, and the whole thing feels amazingly well put together. It gets auto blip to help you out around a twisty circuit, but it can be turned off for proper heel and toe downshifts if you prefer. This is a true driver's car. But what if you prefer your flat 6 thrills with even more drama?
Well, Porsche has got you covered, or rather uncovered, with this, the new Porsche Boxster Spyder. Essentially a convertible version of the Cayman GT4, the Spyder takes everything from its hardtop sibling and adds an extra slice of involvement. Weight saving has been a key part of the Spyder's development, meaning you don't get the fancy electric roof of the standard car. Instead, you get a very fiddly manual roof that, when in place, makes the car look like it's wearing a back-to-front baseball cap. With or without the roof in place though, it looks extremely cool. The other big visual change is the lack of rear wing. Porsche didn't want to ruin the look of the Boxster Spyder, and the lack of roof means a pop-up rear spoiler is more appropriate. There's a less dramatic front splitter too, meaning unlike the GT4, it produces no lift, but also no downforce. The two cars are otherwise identical. The 0 to 62 time remains unchanged, while top speed has been reduced by 2 miles per hour to 186. But with no roof to muffle the noise, the Spyder sounds sensational. Even with the new particulate filters, the Spyder's noise will send chills down your spine as you ring it all the way up to its red line.
The Cayman is definitely the one if you plan on doing a lot of track driving. But on the road, the Spyder is definitely the one to go for.
Join us again after the break as we check out some premium small SUVs and the Dodge Charger Widebody. Coming up, the fire-breathing Dodge Charger Hellcat. But first...
While the company has come a long way from building utilitarian off-roaders for farmers, soldiers and adventurers, Land Rover paved the way in the premium SUV market. But while the new Defender is still first and foremost an off-roader, models wearing Range Rover badges currently outnumber the vaguely humbler offerings, with the Discovery Sport being the entry-level car. With few changes since its launch, the baby Discovery has received a substantial facelift. While styling may remain similar, it now features plenty of Evoque and Velar-inspired details, and an overall more upmarket look. The cabin has had an overhaul too, with Land Rover's latest infotainment system sitting flush in the dash, and a much cleaner design throughout. Like more expensive cars in the brand's lineup, many of the controls are now touch sensitive, thanks to the second screen in the centre console. The biggest changes though are under the skin. The Sport is now available with a whole new range of mild and plug-in hybrid powertrains. Fitted to all but the entry-level front-wheel drive diesel, the tried and tested 48-volt mild hybrid system cuts the engine out when decelerating below 11 miles per hour, saving plenty of fuel and reducing emissions when driving in town. The plug-in version uses a 3-cylinder petrol engine, something previously unheard of in a Land Rover. Badged as a P300e, the PHEV can drive up to 38 miles on electric power and can deliver just over 175 miles per gallon, according to the official WLTP economy figure. While the inclusion of a 2-wheel drive version to the lineup will likely rile the purists, the 4-wheel drive models continue the Land Rover legacy with the unflappable Terrain Response 2 system that monitors conditions and automatically selects the appropriate settings and driving modes. That's not the only clever tech on offer. Featuring much of the new technology from the new Evoque, the Discovery Sport is likely to remain Land Rover's best-selling model.
It doesn't have the market to itself though. The Volvo XC60 offers restrained style with plenty of kit and luxury. Available with a range of petrol and diesel engines, the top-spec hybrid model also offers blistering performance that can keep up with many current sports cars. Inside, the Volvo is a great example of minimalist design, helping to create an airy and modern cabin. The infotainment is also easier to use than the Discovery Sport's bewildering selection of touchscreens. Unlike the Discovery, however, the Volvo is only available with 5 seats, meaning buyers after 7 should look elsewhere.
So is the updated Discovery Sport finally a class leader? Well, the thorough going over has certainly put it up there with our current favourites. It isn't quite as understated as the Volvo or as well built as the Audi, but with all that new tech and its hybrid powertrains, it certainly has what it takes to win new buyers, especially as the cheapest car in the desirable Land Rover range.
The Germans have always been good at super saloons. For decades, AMG and the M division have been taking four-door family cars, strapping in enormous engines and surprising Porsche drivers at the traffic light Grand Prix. Now, though, the Americans have had a go, and this is it, the Dodge Charger. More specifically, this is the Dodge Charger Scat Pack Widebody. Now that name harks back to the 60s, when Dodge beefed up its already quick muscle cars with more power, lowering their quarter-mile times in the process. Naturally then, this Scat Pack model has more power than a regular Charger, 485 horsepower to be exact, from its 6.4-litre V8. All power is sent to the rear wheels via an 8-speed transmission, resulting in a 0 to 62 time of just under 4.5 seconds. But the Americans have always been good at straight line speed, so how about the corners? Well, that brings us neatly to the second part of the car's name, Widebody. A standard Scat Pack is still available, looking much less butch with its narrower body, but for an extra $6,000, the Widebody gets you much more than just some swollen wheel arches. It has 27% stiffer springs, as well as retuned shock absorbers and a Meteor rear sway bar. The tyres are wider too, a frankly ridiculous 11 inches from sidewall to sidewall, meaning you have a lot more grip than in the regular car. The brakes have been upgraded too, with Brembo 6 pistons up front and 4 pistons at the rear, helping to control the heavyweight family hauler. But despite its rumbling V8 and muscle car stance, the Charger is still a proper saloon. The interior won't exactly be keeping Mercedes designers up at night, but it has all the tech you'd expect in a $60,000 car, although some safety features like blind spot assist are optional. It is spacious too, with big comfy seats helping to distract from the slightly dated dashboard. The infotainment's great though, and really easy to use.
But the Scat Pack isn't the only fast Charger to have been updated for 2021. This is the mighty Hellcat, and it's received the same wide-body treatment. To the untrained eye, it looks the same as the Scat Pack, but lurking underneath the bonnet, or should we say hood, lies an updated supercharged 6.2-litre V8, pumping out 707 all-American horsepower. Needless to say, it's fast. Really fast. It shaves off nearly a second from the Scat Pack's 0 to 60 time at 3.6 seconds, while flat out, it'll be knocking on the door of 200 miles per hour. Incredible for a car of this size. Unsurprisingly, unleashing this amount of power all at once tends to melt the rear tyres pretty quickly, but grip is improved with the wide body's chunkier rubber. The wider tyres also help the initial turn-in, making the Hellcat less of a one-trick straight-line pony and a much better all-rounder.
But if it wants the Super Saloon crown, it will need to face this, the Audi RS6. Yes, we know this is an estate car rather than a proper saloon, but the RS6 is now finally available in North America. It has the big Dodge set firmly in its sights. The new version is perhaps the showiest one yet, with huge 22-inch alloys, wide arches and an enormous front grille. Under the bonnet you'll find a 4-litre bi-turbo V8 putting out 592 brake horsepower and a staggering 590 foot-pounds of torque. It's marginally quicker than the Hellcat from 0 to 60, making it a match for many modern supercars. Top speed is limited to 155, but for an extra bit of cash, Audi will take away the limiter, letting you hit 189. Inside, it is as modern and up-to-date as you possibly could want, with stunning materials throughout and a wonderful infotainment system with RS-specific graphics. It even gets a mild hybrid system, something that Dodge Hellcat buyers probably aren't too familiar with. But as impressive as the Audi is, it is more expensive and somehow lacks the charm and character of the big Dodge. The Audi's V8 sounds more subdued, while the cutting-edge cabin and all-wheel drive system makes it feel a bit po-faced and grown-up compared to the childish muscle car.
Both of these cars are fabulous, but if you follow your heart instead of your head, the big Dodge wins every time.
Join us again next week on Auto Mundial as we take a look at one of the most interesting new EVs on the market, the Polestar 2.